All right, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we are unpacking the absolute phenomenon that is the Chinese drama You Are My Destiny. We're going to explore a brilliantly crafted story all about fates, contrasting lives, and honestly, the strange, serendipitous power of shared heartbreak. By breaking down the very beginning of this series, we're going to see exactly how the creators masterfully architect a collision course between two people from completely, totally different worlds. And that brings us to the core question we're looking at today. What happens when an invisible office worker and a decisive billionaire executive are betrayed on the exact same luxury cruise ship? I mean, it sounds like the setup to a joke, right? Or just the absolute worst vacation ever. But it's actually the inciting incident for a deeply satisfying and transformative narrative arc. Before we get to the glorious revenge they plan together, we really need to understand the distinct worlds these two characters come from and the isolation they're both feeling. So let's start by looking at modern life and isolation. The show does a genuinely fantastic job of establishing its setting not just as a physical place, but as an emotional state. Just think about this massive number for a second. 24 million. That is the population of the first-tier modern city where our story begins. The show opens by dropping us right into this dense, overwhelming urban environment. It's really meant to emphasize a profound irony. How is it even possible to be surrounded by 24 million people and still feel completely, utterly alone? There's this great opening monologue that hits the nail on the head, stating, "The more convenient our communication is, the more distanced we are from others." The creators frame this whole era of mobile phones, instant takeout, and rapid communication as the very thing causing our deep isolation. We're hyperconnected digitally, sure, but emotionally severed. And honestly, nobody represents this paradox better than our first protagonist. Which brings us to our next section, this sticky note girl. Let's meet Chen Jiaxin. She's an administrative assistant who lives her life constantly trying to please everybody around her. And the crucial point here is this brilliant central metaphor. Jiaxin literally refers to herself as a sticky note girl. Think about a sticky note for a second. It's super useful for a brief moment, but once the task is done, it's ripped off and thrown in the trash without a second thought. She doesn't stick. She doesn't leave a mark. She's absolutely indispensable for small menial tasks, but ultimately viewed as completely disposable by her ungrateful coworkers and, even worse, her incredibly selfish boyfriend, Xiyi. To see just how overwhelming her reality is, just picture her chaotic morning. While navigating this incredibly crowded office, Jiaxin is fetching cold pan-fried pork buns, rushing spaghetti down to the finance office, picking up dry cleaning for her boss, and doing literally all her colleagues' copying. She isn't even doing her own work. She's doing everything others just can't be bothered to do. We've all probably felt a little bit like a sticky note at work, right? Hoping that by being agreeable, people will finally value us. But instead, they just completely take advantage of her. Now, let's switch gears to Section 3, the decisive executives. Let's flip the coin and look at our second protagonist, who seemingly has all the power in the world. On the surface, Chen Jiaxin and Wang Xiyi couldn't be more different. Like we said, Jiaxin is a submissive assistant, desperate for scraps of affection from her boyfriend. Xiyi, on the other hand, is this commanding, wealthy CEO. We literally see him ruthlessly negotiating factory closures and confidently managing these massive corporate assets. But here's the catch. Despite his immense wealth and status, Xiyi is trapped in a dynamic very similar to Jiaxin's. He is constantly chasing after this ambitious, distant girlfriend named Anna, who always puts her ballet career before him. And this dynamic builds into a seriously painful historical pattern for Xiyi. He has a brutal history of missed connections with Anna. Get this, she stood him up 5 times at London Heathrow, 3 times at Heroes Square. She even stood him up in Moscow. That's a total of 11 times. Actually, scratch that. It's basically a permanent state of being for him. He's the undisputed ruler of his corporate boardroom, but in his romantic life, he's always coming in dead second to Anna's dream. And that sets the stage for Section 4, Fateful Cruise Ship Collision. This brings us right to the catalyst of our story. These two completely separate worlds are about to crash into one another. Both characters are desperately trying to secure the love of their toxic partners by booking a trip on a luxury Costa cruise to Venice. Jiaxin takes out a brand new credit card and maxes it out entirely just to pay for a VIP suite, hoping this massive grand gesture will finally make Guachi appreciate her. Meanwhile, C plans this incredibly lavish captain-officiated marriage proposal, hoping to finally lock Anna down and stop her from constantly leaving him for these ballet tours. They're both operating out of just pure desperation. Which leads us into a tough one, Section 5, Abandonment and Betrayal. Unfortunately, this beautiful luxury cruise very quickly turns into an absolute nightmare. First, there's Xi's heartbreak. Anna gets a call offering her a prestigious role at the Paris Opera. So instead of getting on the ship to be proposed to, she calls Xi and brutally rejects him, telling him, "I will be the first Chinese to stand on the stage of Paris Opera. I'd rather be the permanent white swan in your mind." She abandons him at the very last possible second, cementing this white swan metaphor as an impossible, unattainable dream that Xi can literally never hold on to. But wait. Jiaxin's betrayal is arguably even more horrific. Her boyfriend, Gucci, leaves her sitting entirely alone at a 3-star Michelin restaurant on the ship. While she's waiting, she accidentally discovers him in the VIP suite that she paid for, in bed with another woman he literally just met on the cruise. And when caught, Gucci actually denies doing anything wrong, calls Jiaxin an idiot who's easy to control, and then kicks her out of her own room, telling her to sleep on the sofa because he needs the bed. I mean, wow. It is the ultimate, most devastating culmination of her being treated like a disposable sticky note. Anyone who has ever been taken for granted can painfully relate to that feeling. And this brings us to the real emotional climax of our setup. Stripped of their dignity and completely ditched by their partners, Xiyi and Jiaxin cross paths in the hallway. Xiyi, realizing the strange serendipity of their shared trauma, says this absolutely crucial line: "We were abandoned pitilessly like sticky notes." In that moment, the billionaire and the administrative assistant are exactly the same. They're just two lonely people discarded by the people they love the most. Okay, now for the fun part. Section 6, Striking Back. Here is where the story shifts gears in a major way. Instead of letting Jiaxin just wallow in misery, Xiyi decides they are absolutely not going to take this lying down. Let's look at his master plan for revenge. Step 1 is the physical transformation. He forces Jiaxin to ditch her plain glasses, gets her hair fixed, and dresses her in the stunning gown, telling her to play the role of a confident hero. Step 2 is the confrontation. They confidently stride right into the ship's lounge, utterly shocking Gucci and his new fling with Jiaxin's breathtaking new look. And step 3? Well, that brings us to a super high-stakes climax. Xi challenges this total jerk, Gucci, to a game of billiards. And the terms of this bet are wild. If Gucci loses, he must loudly apologize to Jiaxin. But Gucci agrees only if Jiaxin promises to eat the billiard balls if she loses. Literally eat them. The tension is completely palpable here, especially because Jiaxin has never even touched a pool cue in her entire life. But Xi steps up behind her, holds her hands, guides her aim, and together, boom, they sink the winning shot, publicly humiliating her ex. Right after that victory, with Gucci forced to loudly apologize in front of everyone, Xiyi tells Jiaxin this truly beautiful sentiment: "I hope from now on, you'll have power, courage, and good luck." He reminds her, and honestly, he kind of reminds all of us, that ordinary people absolutely deserve to be cherished. By physically and metaphorically helping her strike back at her abuser, Xiyi helps Jiaxin discover a profound sense of self-worth that she never even knew she had. And that leaves us with this final, provocative question to think about. Can shared heartbreak and a chance encounter permanently transform two people destined to be treated like sticky notes? I mean, they boarded this ship desperate for the love of others, but through massive betrayal and this totally unexpected team-up, they've started to find their own power. What happens next? Well, you'll just have to watch You Are My Destiny to find out. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.